Have you been stuck doing 3 times 10 or 3 times 12 pull-ups for what feels forever? Well, if that is the case, you're in luck because today's training method, as simple as it might sound, will help you break that plateau and do more reps before you know it. Just before I dive into what I call microloading, I want to start with a comment I received in a previous video, since I believe that this connects a lot with today's topic and overall having a plateau breaking kind of mindset. Here's the comment. There is only so far we can all go in terms of progression, or else we would be all doing 1,000 one-arm push-ups. For beginners, tracking reps and striving for more reps is a smart idea, but after a few years, you will naturally stall. When you get to this point, I find that it is best to stop stressing about numbers and just strive for reaching failure or getting very near to that on most sets, as this will ensure that you're pushing your muscles to their max and therefore ensure that you're building or at least maintaining the muscle that you've built over the years of tracking and increasing reps. Now, I do understand where this person is coming from, and although calisthenics and any form of strength training basically indeed progresses slower through time, I would argue that this is actually one more reason why tracking becomes even more important as you advance, with just one more extra prerequisite. And that is coupling tracking with smarter programming. In the end, unless you've been training for 5 years consistently, doing everything perfectly from programming to diet and sleep, there is always room for improvement. Whether we want to admit it or not, unless we reach a point where we're happy with our strength standards and how we look in the mirror, unless you've built your best physique, you'll find it very hard to keep on training if nothing changes month in and month out. Even if you get to a point where you're getting older and, performing in the same way that you could perform 20 years ago is not possible, you can still strive for looking at your best according to your age. And that will, once again, always require smart programming and tracking. Now, although I've experimented with a lot of different approaches when it comes to breaking pull-up plateaus, the most effective, without a doubt, is what I call micro-loading. So, what is micro-loading? Well, first of all, at this point, you have to realize that expecting an extra pull-up every week, which is basically asking your body to lift an extra 82 kilos or whatever it is that you weigh, only ends up putting way too much strain on your neuromuscular system, this way making plateaus harder to overcome, but also oftentimes increasing injury. Instead, what you want to do is add load a lot more gradually, my recommendation being doing weighted pull-ups with an extra 1 to 1.5 kilos, as I'll explain later, depending on how heavy you are. This gradual increase helps your body adapt to the extra load without overwhelming your neuromuscular system. And although this doesn't feel like you're doing a lot at first, if you have faith in the process, it will help you make a lot more progress in the long run. That being said, here's how this would look when put to practice for someone my weight. During week 1, you want to load each pull-up set with 1.25 kilos, and you want to perform 3 sets 2 to 3 times a week. So assuming you're stuck at 3 sets of 10, do 3 sets of 10 with an extra 1.25 kilo in your pocket or backpack. Repeat this for the rest of the week, ideally with 2 to 3 days of rest in between each workout. Lastly, if you fail at any of the sets, meaning you do anything shy of 3 times 10 with the extra load, repeat the same workout until you succeed. Once you complete a successful week, you can switch to weighted pull-ups with double the weight. In my case, 2.5 kilos. Once again, you might be tempted to add more weight, but I promise you that this will only lead to slower progress in the long run, so have trust in the process. Once again, if you completed all workouts successfully last week, this week add another 1.25 kilos and keep adding weight this way every week until you can do 3 times 10 repetitions or whatever number you're stuck at, with an extra 5 kilos on your back. Once you do so, it's time to test your new best 3 sets. Worst case scenario, you should be able to do 3 times 11 or probably even more. This is now your new basis, which you can start loading again in the same manner. All right, now, although this strategy can work really, really well, as one of my favorite coaches used to say, everything works until it doesn't. So once you exhaust this strategy and it stops working for you, or even if you simply get bored of it and you want to try something different, there's nothing bad to that. There are all kinds of different other strategies that you can use in order to keep making progress. 4 of my favorite ones being the following. Manipulating time by using training programs such as EMOMs or density training, where the goal is increasing your work capacity. This also improves, by the way, your cardiovascular fitness. Number 3 is manipulating volume. For example, you can simply start by adding 1 extra set to your training, or you can increase your training frequency, assuming you organize your split in an intelligent way that allows for optimal recovery, or you can even follow an extra high volume approach, such as the old school but still popular greasing the groove strategy. During this last strategy, strength is approached more like a skill, which improves through extra practice by incorporating, again, a lot of sets, but with low intensity. Number 4, you can cycle intensity and rep ranges, or what is called undulated periodization. For example, you can alternate heavy weighted pull-up days using low reps with bodyweight sessions doing moderate reps and high rep sessions doing pull-up regressions, such as feet elevated assisted pull-ups. And lastly, but not leastly, you can manipulate calories by getting on a slow bulk, as explained in the beginning of this video. Of course, being a dietary intervention, this strategy can be combined with any of the previous approaches. Being on a slight caloric surplus can do wonders for your strength and recovery, not to mention that it is the only effective way to gain additional muscle mass once you are past your newbie gains and body composition hits a halt. In a way, bulking is also a way of microloading, since you're lifting more of yourself, and even though your reps don't increase that much on the way up, once you get on your second cut, you'll notice that you're way more stronger on the bar or rings. All right, so some final thoughts that I wanted to share with you today. Starting with the fact that there are so many strategies that you can utilize in order to keep making progress, which is great because, this way you can never really get bored of different ways of training. Another thing I wanted to touch upon is the fact that most of us will never reach our utmost potential, just because life will often get in the way, right? As much as you might love fitness, as I do, strength training, calisthenics, all that, oftentimes you'll have different priorities in life, right? So setbacks will be part of the game, but that is also fun because, this way you can keep always chasing for something better. You can always keep striving for more and more improvement, which is why I also want to leave you today with one of my favorite quotes by Bruce Lee. If you always put limits on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. That was all for today. Remember that if you enjoy our training approach and you need help with setting up a proper diet and workout plan to drop the dad bod and build a rugged, strong and lean calisthenics physique with someone guiding you and holding you accountable along the way, you can always fill in our questionnaire below, book a free consultation call with us, and see if we're a good fit. Until next time, keep on training.